The iron plates clanged against the bar with a sound that echoed through the Naval Special Warfare Center gym like a gunshot. Maya gripped the barbell, her knuckles white, her breathing controlled. 315 pounds. She didn't grunt, didn't struggle, just lifted with the mechanical precision of someone who'd done this 1,000 times before. Across the gym, Lieutenant Commander Jake Reeves stopped mid-rep on the pull-up bar. He'd been training at this facility for 8 years, had seen countless civilians come through on base tour, had worked alongside contractors and support personnel. But this woman was different. She'd appeared 3 weeks ago, always arriving before dawn, always leaving after dark. No small talk, no introduction beyond a curt Maya when someone asked. She wore the same thing every day. Black compression shirt with a high collar, dark tactical pants, running shoes that had seen serious miles. "Who is she?" asked Petty Officer Marcus Chen, wiping sweat from his face as he joined Jake. "No idea," Jake muttered, watching Maya move to the rowing machine. Her form was textbook perfect, back straight, powerful pulls, breathing time to her strokes. But she's not just some contractor. Marcus snorted. "Yeah, no kidding. Did you see her run the O course yesterday? Sub 11 minutes, that's faster than half our guys." Jake had seen it. He'd also seen the way she cleared obstacles, the economy of movement, the tactical awareness, the way her eyes constantly scanned for threats even in a training environment. These weren't skills you picked up at a civilian gym. "Maybe she's FBI," Marcus suggested, "or agency." "Maybe," Jake said, but something nagged at him. There was a hardness to her, a weight in her eyes that spoke of things seen and done. He recognized it because he saw it in his own mirror every morning. Maya finished her rowing set, 2,000 meters in 6 minutes 42 seconds, and stood. For a moment, her hand went to her neck, fingers brushing against the high collar of her shirt. It was a nervous gesture, one Jake had seen her repeat dozens of times. She was hiding something. The next morning, Jake arrived early, hopping to catch her off guard. She was already there, working through a brutal circuit. Burpees, box jumps, kettlebell swings, all executed with relentless intensity. Sweat soaked through her shirt, but that collar never moved. "You train like you're preparing for war," Jake said, approaching cautiously. Maya's head snapped toward him, and for just a second he saw it, the operator's assessment. She'd clocked his position, evaluated the threat, identified exits. Then her expression smoothed into polite neutrality. "Just staying in shape," she said, her voice carrying a slight rasp, like someone who'd spent time breathing dust and smoke. "That's more than staying in shape, that's—" "I need to finish my workout." She turned away, dismissing him. Jake should have let it go. He was a SEAL. He understood operational security, understood that some people had reasons for their secrets. But curiosity gnawed at him. That night he asked around. Nobody knew anything. She wasn't on any contractor lists he could access. She had base clearance, but the authorization came from high up, channels he couldn't trace without raising flags. A week later, everything changed. The gym was packed, afternoon rush, everyone getting their training in before evening briefings. Maya was doing pull-ups in the corner, her focus absolute. Jake was spotting Marcus on bench press when he heard the commotion. "Holy shit, is that?" Jake turned. Maya had finished her set and was reaching for her water bottle. The movement had pulled her collar down, and there, visible on the left side of her neck, was the edge of a tattoo. Dark ink, professional work. But it wasn't the artistry that made Jake's blood run cold. It was what he could see, the bottom curve of a trident, and numbers, 91,108. His heart hammered. November 8, 2009. That date was burned into the memory of every SEAL who'd been in the teams during that period. Operation Thunderclap, the mission that never officially happened, the disaster that cost good people their lives. Maya's eyes met his across the gym. She'd caught him starring. In that instant, Jake saw something flash across her face, recognition, fear, and something else. Resignation, maybe. like she'd known this moment would come eventually. She grabbed her bag and headed for the exit, moving fast but not running. Never run unless you have to, it draws attention. Jake followed her outside into the California sun. Wait. She stopped but didn't turn around. The parking lot stretched between them, heat shimmering off the asphalt. That tattoo, Jake said quietly, closing the distance. That date, I know what it means. You don't know anything. Her voice was tight, controlled. Operation Thunderclap, Kandahar Province, a joint task force mission that went sideways. Jake kept his voice low. This wasn't a conversation for open spaces. Only people who were there would have that date inked. Maya finally turned. Up close, he could see the fine lines around her eyes, the small scar above her left eyebrow, the shadows that spoke of sleepless nights. She was probably early 30s, but her eyes looked older. Let it go, Commander. Jake, and I can't. He gestured back toward the gym. You train like an operator, you move like an operator. You have a memorial tattoo from a classified mission. Who are you really? For a long moment, she just stared at him. Then she pulled her collar higher, covering the tattoo again. I'm nobody, she said, just someone trying to forget. She walked away, and this time Jake let her go. But as he watched her disappear into the parking lot, he made a decision. He was going to find out the truth. Because that tattoo, that date, it meant she'd been in the fight. And if she'd been there, she'd earned the right to her story being known. Even if she didn't want to tell it, Jake couldn't sleep. At 200 hours, he sat in his apartment, laptop open, staring at classified databases he technically shouldn't be accessing from home. The blue light illuminated his face as he typed, Operation Thunderclap, November 2009. Most of it was redacted, black bars across names, locations, unit designations, but he'd been around long enough to read between the lines. Joint Task Force, high-value target extraction, catastrophic compromise, multiple KIA. What stopped him cold was a single line buried in an after-action report. Attached personnel from SAC SOG Ground Branch, female operators, experimental integration protocol. Female operators. In 2009, women weren't officially in combat roles. But the CIA's Special Activities Division operated in shadows where official policies didn't reach. They'd been running female operators in war zones for years, doing jobs that male operators couldn't, getting close to targets, gathering intelligence in places where armed men drew attention. Jake had heard rumors, whispers in the teams about women who could shoot, fight, and survive alongside the best. But they were ghosts, their operations so classified that most people didn't believe they existed. Until Maya. The next morning, Jake arrived at the gym at 5:30. Maya was already there, attacking a heavy bag with controlled fury. Her strikes were precise, elbow, knee, cross, hook, combinations that spoke of serious martial arts training, not the recreational kind, the kind that kept you alive. He didn't approach her, not yet. Instead, he went through his own workout, watching from his peripheral vision. Today, she wore the same high-collar compression shirt, but he knew what was underneath. That tattoo wasn't just memorial ink. It was a declaration: I was there, I survived, I remember. At 6:45, she finished and headed for the showers. Jake made his move, slipping into the administrative office. Chief Warrant Officer Davis, who managed base access, owed him a favor from Ramadi. I need a name, Jake said without preamble. Davis looked up from his coffee, reading Jake's expression. This about the mystery woman. You know who she is. I know her clearance comes from Langley. I know I was told not to ask questions. Davis leaned back in his chair. And I know you should probably follow that same advice, Jake. I saw her tattoo. She was on Thunderclap. Davis's eyes widened slightly. He'd been in the teams long enough to know that name. Jesus, are you sure? The date was right there on her neck, 91,108. Jake leaned forward. Chief, people died on that mission. Good people. If she was there, if she survived, I need to know who she is." After a long pause, Davis pulled up his computer. His fingers flew across the keyboard, then stopped. He stared at the screen, his face going pale. "What?" Jake demanded. "Her name is Maya Cortez, Captain, U.S. Army on extended leave, but that's not her primary affiliation." Davis turned the monitor. "She's CIA, Special Activities Division, and according to this, she's not just any operator. She was one of the first women in Ground Branch." Jake read the limited file. Most of it was classified, but what he could see painted a picture. Multiple combat deployments, decorations for valor under pseudonyms, psychological evaluations that noted PTSD and survivor's guilt. The last entry was from 6 months ago. Subject approved for indefinite administrative leave pending psychiatric clearance. "She's not supposed to be here," Jake said. "According to this, she's not supposed to be anywhere near a military facility." Davis closed the file. Whatever happened to her, it broke something, and someone high up decided she needed space to heal or hide. Jake left the office with more questions than answers. He found Maya in the parking lot, throwing her gear into a worn Jeep Wrangler. "Captain Cortez." She froze, her hand on the door. When she turned, her expression was carefully blank. "You've been digging. You have a memorial tattoo from a classified operation. I had to know." "Why?" The question came out sharp. "Why does it matter to you?" "Because I've lost people too." Jake stepped closer. "Because anyone who was on Thunderclap and lived deserves respect, not to hide in a gym like they're ashamed." "You don't know what you're talking about." Her voice cracked slightly. "You don't know what happened there." "So tell me." For a moment he thought she might. Her hand went to her neck again, fingers tracing the hidden tattoo. Then she shook her head. "I can't." She got in her Jeep and drove away, leaving Jake standing in the parking lot. But he'd seen something in her eyes. Not just pain, not just loss, something deeper. Guilt. That afternoon, Jake made a call to an old teammate, Master Chief Tom Hendricks, retired, living in Virginia Beach. Tom had been around forever, knew everyone, heard everything. "I need you to tell me about Operation Thunderclap," Jake said. The line went silent for so long Jake thought they'd been disconnected. "You don't want to know about that, Jake. I met someone who was there." Another pause. "The woman Maya Cortez." "You know her?" "I know of her. She was attached to Team 3 for that op. CIA sent 3 female operators. It was supposed to be groundbreaking, proof that women could operate at the highest levels." Tom's voice grew heavy. "Then everything went to hell." "What happened?" "Intel was compromised. The target knew we were coming. It turned into a 12-hour firefight in a compound that was supposed to be lightly defended. We lost 4 SEALs, and Maya's 2 teammates, both CIA, both women she'd trained with for years. She was the only one of the 3 who made it out." Jake felt his chest tighten. "How?" "She stayed behind to cover the exfil, held off an entire Taliban squad with a saw while we got the wounded out. By the time we could circle back for her, she was out of ammo, surrounded by bodies and covered in blood, most of it not hers. They say she didn't speak for 3 days after." The image formed in Jake's mind. Maya, younger but just as fierce, making the choice to stay behind, to buy time with her life if necessary. That kind of courage wasn't taught. It was forged in moments when death was certain and you chose to fight anyway. "She earned every bit of that tattoo," Tom continued. "The names of her teammates are on her neck, Sarah and Jennifer. I saw it once, years later, at a memorial service. She got it done the week after the operation, before the psych evals, before the debriefs. Just walked into a tattoo parlor and sat there for 6 hours getting their names inked where she'd see them every day." Jake thanked Tom and hung up. He sat in his truck watching the sun set over the Pacific. Now he understood. Maya wasn't hiding from her past. She was carrying it, every day, every workout, every moment. And maybe, he thought, it was time someone helped her carry that weight. Maya didn't show up to the gym for 3 days. Jake trained alone, the empty spaces where she used to work out feeling conspicuous. He'd crossed a line by digging into her past, and he knew it. But he also couldn't shake the image Tom had painted, Maya, alone in that compound, choosing to face death so others could live. On the 4th day, she returned. Jake was running stadium stairs when he saw her Jeep pull into the lot. She sat in the driver's seat for a full 5 minutes before getting out. Even from a distance, he could see the tension in her shoulders, the weight she carried. He finished his workout and found her at the rowing machine, pulling with mechanical intensity. This time, he noticed things he'd missed before. The slight tremor in her hands when she rested between sets, the way her eyes would occasionally lose focus, seeing something that wasn't there. "I'm sorry," Jake said, approaching carefully. "I shouldn't have dug into your file." Maya kept rowing, 200 meters, 400, 600. "But I'm not sorry, I know," he continued, "because now I understand why you're here, why you push yourself like every workout is life or death." She finished her 2,000 meters and stopped, breathing hard. "You don't understand anything." "Then help me understand." Maya stood, grabbed her towel, wiped her face. When she looked at him, her eyes were wet but no tears fell. "You want to understand? Fine, come with me." She led him outside to a picnic table overlooking the ocean. The morning sun glinted off the water, peaceful and beautiful, a stark contrast to the darkness in her expression. "November 8, 2009, she began, her voice quiet. "I was 26 years old. CIA had selected me and 2 other women for an experimental program. We trained for 18 months. Everything the guys did, we did. We proved ourselves over and over. And finally, we got our chance. A joint op with SEAL Team 3 to extract a Taliban commander who had intelligence on a major attack." Jake listened, not interrupting. "The compound was supposed to be defended by maybe a dozen fighters. We'd go in quiet, grab the target, get out before they knew what happened." She laughed bitterly. "But someone sold us out. When we breached, there were over 50 hostiles waiting. It was an ambush." Her hand went to her neck, pulling down the collar to fully reveal the tattoo. Jake could see it clearly now. A Naval Special Warfare trident intertwined with a CIA Memorial Star, and below it 2 names in elegant script, Sarah Chen and Jennifer Martinez. Below that, the date, 91,108. Sarah was my best friend since training. Jennifer was like a sister. When the compound turned hot, we were separated. I was with the SEAL element trying to fight our way to the exfil point. Sarah and Jennifer were covering the southern approach. Her voice broke. I heard them on comms. They were pinned down, taking fire from 3 positions. They called for support, but we were pinned too. The team leader made the call. We had to exfil or everyone would die. Maya. I could hear them screaming for help, and I left them. Tears ran down her face now. I got on that helicopter and left them to die because that was the mission. That was the order. And by the time we got air support in and could go back, they were already gone. Jake felt his throat tighten. He'd lost teammates, knew that guilt intimately. But to hear it, to carry it alone for years, that was a different kind of hell. The after-action report said they killed 17 Taliban fighters before they fell. 17. Maya wiped her eyes roughly. They were heroes, and the CIA buried their names in classified files because the program was too controversial. No medals, no public recognition, just stars on a wall that most people will never see. That's why you got the tattoo. I got it the day after their funeral, because if the government wouldn't honor them publicly, I'd carry their names forever. Every time I look in a mirror, I see them. Every time someone asks about it, I have to decide whether to tell the truth or lie. She met his eyes. So now you know, I'm not here to train. I'm here to punish myself, because I survived and they didn't. Jake sat with that for a moment. Then he pulled up his own sleeve, revealing a tattoo on his forearm, names and dates, 7 of them. Mosul 2016, Kabul 2018, Syria 2019. He traced each name. Every one of them was a brother. Every one of them died while I lived. And for years, I did exactly what you're doing, pushed myself until I couldn't think, couldn't feel, couldn't remember. How did you stop? I didn't stop remembering. I started honoring them differently. He looked out at the ocean. A chaplain told me something once. The dead don't need our guilt. They need us to live well, to carry forward what they believed in, to make their sacrifice mean something. Maya shook her head. You don't get it. I made a choice that night. When the team leader said we had to go, I could have stayed. I could have fought my way to them, but I didn't. I chose to live. You chose to follow orders. You chose to save the people you could save. Jake leaned forward. Maya, if you'd stayed, you'd be another name on someone's memorial tattoo. Is that what Sarah and Jennifer would have wanted? She didn't answer, just stared at the water. I talked to Tom Hendricks, Jake admitted. He told me what you did, how you held that position alone, bought time for the wounded to exfil. You didn't just survive, Maya. You fought like a demon to save others. That's not cowardice. That's what heroes do. Heroes don't leave people behind. Heroes make impossible choices and live with them. Jake stood. You want to honor Sarah and Jennifer, then stop hiding. Stop punishing yourself. Start living the life they didn't get to have. Maya looked up at him, something shifting in her expression. Not acceptance, not yet, but maybe the first crack in the armor she'd built around her grief. I don't know how, she whispered. Neither did I, but I found people who helped me figure it out. He offered his hand. You don't have to do this alone. For a long moment she just stared at his hand. Then slowly she took it. It wasn't forgiveness, it wasn't healing, but it was a start. Over the next week, something changed. Maya still trained with brutal intensity, but Jake noticed small differences. She started acknowledging other people in the gym. She smiled once when Marcus made a terrible joke. And one morning she showed up wearing a regular tank top, her tattoo fully visible. People stared, some asked questions. Maya answered honestly. They were my friends, they died in combat. I honor their memory. No classified details. No operation names, just the simple truth. Jake watched her transformation with quiet pride, but he also noticed something else. The attention she was drawing wasn't all positive. Some people whispered, questioned whether women belonged in combat. Others were openly skeptical that she could have done what the rumors claimed. It came to a head one afternoon when a young lieutenant, fresh from Bud S and full of bravado, made a comment loud enough for everyone to hear. I don't care what anyone says. Women don't belong on the teams. It's just biology. The gym went quiet. Maya set down her weights and walked over to him. The lieutenant was 6'2", probably 220 pounds of muscle. Maya was 5'8", maybe 160. You think women can't hang with SEALs? She asked calmly. I think standards should be the same for everyone, he said, not backing down. And when people start lowering the bar, it gets people killed. I agree, standards should be the same. Maya smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. How about we test that theory, you and me, of course, your time versus mine? The lieutenant looked around, realizing he'd backed himself into a corner. I don't need to prove. Scared, Maya interrupted, because it sounds like you're making excuses before we even start. Jake bit back a grin. He knew what was coming. 10 minutes later, they stood at the start of the obstacle course. A crowd had gathered, SEALs and support personnel, everyone wanting to see how this played out. Loser buys drinks for the winner's choice of people, Maya said. Deal. The lieutenant nodded, confident. He was younger, bigger, faster. This should be easy. They ran. The lieutenant was good. Jake had to give him that. His time would have been respectable in any class, but Maya was something else. She moved through the obstacles like they were extensions of her body, every movement efficient, no wasted energy. When she hit the rope climb, she ascended like gravity was a suggestion, not a rule. She finished 37 seconds ahead of him. The lieutenant stood at the finish line, gasping for breath, looking at Maya with new eyes. She wasn't even breathing hard. 10:43, she said, checking her watch. Your time was 11:20. You're fast, but you waste movement on the monkey bars and your rope technique needs work. She offered her hand. Good run, though. He shook it, humbled. Where did you learn to move like that? Maya's expression grew distant. From people who are gone now, I owe it to them to be better. As the crowd dispersed, Jake approached her. You didn't have to prove anything. Yes, I did. She looked at the obstacle course. Not for him, for me. I needed to remember that I earned my place, that Sarah and Jennifer trained me well. She touched her tattoo. They'd be proud of that run. For the first time since he'd met her, Maya's smile reached her eyes. And watching her, Jake realized something. She wasn't just healing. She was finding her purpose again. The question was, what would she do with it? The coffee shop was deliberately chosen, neutral ground away from the base, where rank and protocol could dissolve into civilian normalcy. Jake sat across from Maya, 2 cups of black coffee between them, the morning sun streaming through the windows. You know why I asked you here, Jake said. Maya stirred her coffee absently. Because you're a SEAL and you don't let things go. Because I think you're wasting yourself. He leaned forward. Maya, you're one of the most skilled operators I've ever seen. You've proven yourself over and over, but you're treating this like penance instead of preparation. Preparation for what? I'm out, Jake. Done. The agency offered me a desk job in Langley analyzing satellite imagery. I'd rather die. She laughed without humor. Actually, some days I think I would rather die. Don't say that. Why not? It's the truth. She met his eyes. You want the full story, the version I don't tell people. Fine. Let me paint you a picture of Operation Thunderclap. She pulled out her phone, brought up a photograph she kept locked in an encrypted folder. 2 women in tactical gear, faces painted, weapons ready, smiling at the camera. Sarah and Jennifer. This was taken 4 hours before the op. We were excited, finally getting our chance to prove the program worked, that women could operate at the highest level. We'd trained together for 18 months. We could communicate with just looks, anticipate each other's moves. We were a team. Her voice cracked. We were family. Jake looked at the photo. Both women looked young, fierce, alive, like they could take on the world. The target compound was in Kandahar province. Intelligence said it was a Taliban mid-level commander named Rahman who had details on a planned attack against U.S. forces. The structure was supposed to be defended by 12 to 15 fighters. Simple extraction, fast in, fast out. She swiped to another photo. A satellite image of a compound, buildings clustered around a central courtyard. We infilled by helicopter 2 clicks out, then approached on foot. SEAL Team 3 took the lead. We were assigned to secure the southern perimeter and provide support. Standard protocol. Maya's hands tightened around her coffee cup. We reached the compound at 2:30 local time. Perfect conditions, moonless night, clear weather, everything by the book. When did you know something was wrong? The second we breached the outer wall. The silence was off. In these compounds, there's always something: dogs, chickens, someone on watch. But this was dead quiet. Our team leader, Lieutenant Commander Barnes, he sensed it too. He called for a hold, wanted to reassess. She paused, drinking her coffee, collecting herself. Before we could pull back, all hell broke loose. RPG from the main building, then machine gun fire from 3 positions we hadn't identified. They'd fortified the compound, turned it into a kill box. We'd walked straight into an ambush. Jake knew the feeling. That moment when a mission goes from controlled operation to desperate survival. Your training takes over, but part of your brain is screaming that you're going to die. The team split under fire. Barnes took half the SEALs to suppress the main position. Me, Sarah, and Jennifer were with the other element trying to flank from the south. But they had more fighters than we'd thought, 50, maybe 60. Professional too, not the usual Taliban militia. Someone had trained them, equipped them. Foreign fighters. We thought so. Later intel confirmed Chechen mercenaries mixed with Taliban. This wasn't just a compound. It was a trap, and we were the target. Maya swiped to another image, a tactical map marked with positions, casualty reports, timelines. She'd reconstructed the entire operation, probably hundreds of times, looking for the moment where it could have gone differently. 15 minutes in, we'd already taken 3 casualties. 1 SEAL KIA, 2 wounded. The exfil bird couldn't land, too much fire. We were pinned in an alley, taking fire from elevated positions. That's when Sarah and Jennifer volunteered to flank the machine gun nest that had us trapped. Her voice went flat, emotionless, combat monotone. I wanted to go with them. Barnes ordered me to stay with the main element, help cover the wounded. Sarah looked at me before they moved out. She said, "We've got this. Stay alive, Maya. That's an order." A tear rolled down her cheek. Those were the last words she ever said to me. Jake reached across the table, put his hand over hers. She didn't pull away. They made it to the flanking position. I could hear them on comms, Jennifer calling out targets, Sarah returning fire. They were winning, pushing the enemy back. Then Jennifer called out, "Grenade," and the line went dead. The coffee shop sounds faded, the espresso machine, the conversations, the traffic outside. All Jake could hear was Maya's voice, pulling him into that night, that moment. I screamed for them, broke from my position, tried to get to them. 2 SEALs had to tackle me, hold me down while I fought them. I was supposed to be a professional, but all I could think was that my sisters were dying and I was hiding behind a wall. "You were following orders." "Orders?" She laughed bitterly. "You know what the real hell of it is. They didn't die from the grenade. The blast wounded them, but they kept fighting. We know because we found their weapons later, both empty, brass casings everywhere. They fought until they ran out of ammunition. And then..." She couldn't finish. "You don't have to." "Yes, I do. You wanted the truth, here it is. When we finally fought our way to their position 3 hours later, we found them. Jennifer had been hit 11 times. She died trying to reload her weapon. Sarah had used her empty rifle as a club. We found Taliban blood and hair on the stock. She'd been hit 7 times but kept fighting until they got close enough to..." Maya's voice broke completely. "They executed her, Jake. Shot her in the head while she was on her knees." Jake felt rage surge through him, the same cold fury that came when good people died at the hands of evil. The autopsy showed she'd been alive for at least an hour after we lost comms. An hour. While I was sitting safe, waiting for air support, she was fighting and dying alone. "You weren't safe. You were pinned down under fire." "I was alive." Maya's voice rose, drawing glances from other customers. She lowered it to an urgent whisper. "Don't you get it? The program survived because I survived. If all 3 of us had died, they would have shut it down, said women couldn't hack it. So the agency kept me alive, sent me on safer missions, protected their investment, while Sarah and Jennifer became classified footnotes in a report no one will ever read." "They became heroes," Jake said firmly. "Doesn't matter if the world knows, doesn't matter if it's classified. They fought to the last breath, saved their teammates, died with honor. That's what heroes do. Heroes shouldn't be forgotten." "They're not. You carry them with you every single day." He pointed to her tattoo. "Everyone who sees that asks questions. Everyone who knows the real story spreads it. Sarah and Jennifer are legends in the community, even if the public never knows their names." Maya wiped her eyes. The program got shut down anyway. After Thunderclap, the brass decided it was too risky, too political. All the female ground branch operators were reassigned to support roles. Everything we'd worked for, everything they'd died for, it ended up meaning nothing. "That's not true." "Isn't it? I spent the next 3 years doing liaison work, training foreign assets, paperwork. Nothing that mattered. Meanwhile, male operators with half our skills got the missions, the recognition, the opportunities. The agency made it clear we'd had our chance and failed. You didn't fail. The intelligence failed. The mission planning failed. But you and Sarah and Jennifer did everything right with what you had. Maya shook her head. I started having nightmares, panic attacks. The agency sent me to therapy, which got classified too because God forbid anyone know their operators are human. The therapist said I had survivor's guilt, PTSD, depression. She recommended I take leave. The agency agreed a little too quickly. So you came here. I came to the last place I felt like myself. Before the agency, before Thunderclap, I'd done some training at Coronado. I thought maybe if I could push my body hard enough, train hard enough, I could. I don't know. Earn the right to be alive. That's not how it works. Then tell me how it works. Frustration and pain poured out of her. Tell me how I'm supposed to wake up every day knowing that better people than me are dead. That I got to live because of luck, because I was following orders, because I happened to be in the right spot when everything went to hell. How do I make that okay? Jake was quiet for a long moment. Then, you honor them by living well, by being the person they believed you could be. Sarah told you to stay alive. That was her last order to you. Are you going to disobey it? The question hit Maya like a physical blow. She sat back, staring at him. She didn't mean. She just wanted me to survive the mission. Bullshit. Sarah knew what she was doing. She knew the odds, and her last words to you were to stay alive. Not stay alive for the next hour. Stay alive. Period. Jake leaned forward. You want to honor her, then stop treating life like it's a punishment. Start living like someone who was given a second chance. Maya's hands trembled as she set down her coffee cup. I don't know if I can. Yes, you can, because you're not alone anymore. He pulled out a card, slid it across the table. This is Captain Sarah Vance. She's with DEVGRU, running a new integrated training program. They're looking for experienced operators to help develop female candidates for special operations roles. Maya looked at the card like it might bite her. Why are you telling me this? Because Sarah and Jennifer died proving that women could do this job. And right now, there are women who want to follow in their footsteps, who need someone to teach them, prepare them, make sure they don't make the same mistakes we did. Jake held her gaze. You could be that person. You could make sure their sacrifice actually meant something. I can't. Can't or won't, he stood. The meeting's tomorrow at 1400. Think about it. Think about what Sarah and Jennifer would want you to do. He left money on the table and walked out, leaving Maya alone with her coffee and her ghosts. That night, Maya sat in her apartment, lights off, staring at the card. Her phone was open to that photo of Sarah and Jennifer, their faces frozen in that moment of optimism before everything went wrong. What would you want me to do? She whispered to the image. The answer, she realized, had been there all along, in Sarah's last words, in Jennifer's sacrifice, in the way they'd fought to their last breath believing that what they did mattered. They'd want her to keep fighting, not against enemies, against the idea that their deaths had been meaningless, against a system that wanted to bury their story, against her own guilt and pain. They want her to take those women who came after and make them better, stronger, more prepared than she'd been, to ensure that no one else would be left behind like Sarah and Jennifer were. Maya picked up her phone and dialed the number on the card. Captain Vance, this is Maya Cortez. I'd like to discuss the training program. It was time to stop running from her past and start building something from it. It was time to honor her sisters by helping create the future they died trying to prove was possible. The Naval Special Warfare Development Group compound looked exactly as Maya remembered, austere, functional, radiating quiet menace. She showed her credentials at the gate, noticing the guard's double-take when he saw her clearance level. Few people outside the intelligence community had access to this facility. Captain Sarah Vance waited in a conference room overlooking the training grounds. She was 42, lean as a whip, with short-cropped hair going gray at the temples and eyes that missed nothing. Former Army Ranger, one of the first women to complete Ranger School, now pioneering the integration of female operators into naval special warfare. Captain Cortez, thank you for coming. Vance's handshake was firm, professional. Jake Reeves speaks highly of you. He's persistent, Maya said. So I've noticed. Vance gestured to a seat. Coffee. Please. They settled in, and Vance slid a folder across the table. Before we discuss the program, I want you to know I've read your file, the unredacted version. Maya's stomach tightened. How did you? I have friends at Langley who believe what happened to you was unconscionable, that you deserved better than being sidelined after one of the most heroic actions in ground branch history. Vance's expression was kind but firm. I know about Operation Thunderclap. I know about Sarah Chen and Jennifer Martinez. And I know that you held a position alone against overwhelming odds to save your teammates. I also left people behind to die. You followed orders in an impossible situation. There's a difference. Vance opened the folder, revealing photos of young women in various stages of training. These are our current candidates, 27 women who want to serve in special operations roles. They're smart, tough, motivated, but they need more than physical training. They need mentors who understand what they're really signing up for. Maya looked at the faces. Some were barely out of college. Others looked harder, like they'd already seen combat in conventional units. All of them had fire in their eyes. The program is called Nexus, Next Evolution of Cross-Unit Special Operations, Vance explained. We're developing a curriculum that will prepare women for integration into SEAL teams, Marine Raiders, Army Special Forces, not lowering standards, meeting them, exceeding them where possible. Why now? They shut down the female ground branch program after Thunderclap. Because the world changed. Women have been in combat for over a decade now. We've proven ourselves in conventional roles. And frankly, we've been doing special operations work overseas in ways the public doesn't know about. Vance leaned back. You know it as well as I do. The cultural support teams embedded with special operations, the female interrogators, the intelligence operatives. Women have been in the fight. It's time we formalized it. Maya studied the photos. What do you want from me? Honestly, everything you have. Vance's eyes were intense. I want you to teach them how to survive, how to operate under pressure, how to deal with being the first, the only, the one everyone's watching to fail. I want you to share the lessons you learned in blood and fire so they don't have to learn them the same way. I'm not a teacher. You're exactly what we need. These women don't need someone who's only read about combat in manuals. They need someone who's been there, who understands the psychological and physical demands, who can look them in the eye and say, yes, it's harder for us. Yes, people will doubt you. Yes, you'll have to be twice as good to get half the credit. And yes, you can do it anyway. Maya felt something stir in her chest. Not hope exactly, but possibility. I have conditions, she said. Name them. First, no glory stories. No Hollywood bullshit. If I do this, these women hear the truth, the blood, the fear, the cost. They need to know what they're signing up for. Agreed. Second, I teach my way. No interference from brass who want to soften things or make it politically palatable. These women get the real training or they don't get me. Within reason, agreed. What else? Maya hesitated then. Sarah Chen and Jennifer Martinez. Their names go somewhere public. Maybe not the details of the operation, but their sacrifice gets recognized. I won't be part of a program that erases the women who came before. Vance was quiet for a moment. Then she opened another folder and pulled out an architect's rendering. A memorial wall, black granite, with names engraved in silver. I was hoping you'd say that. This memorial is part of the Nexus facility design. It will honor all the women who have served in special operations roles, the ones whose names can be public and the ones that remain classified. Sarah and Jennifer will be on it. I give you my word." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. She looked at the rendering, imagining Sarah and Jennifer's names preserved forever, their sacrifice acknowledged. It wasn't enough. It could never be enough, but it was something. "When do I start?" 2 weeks, but I want you to meet some of the candidates first, see if this is really what you want." Vance stood. "Come with me." They walked out to the training compound. In the distance, Maya could see a group of women running an obstacle course. Even from here, she could see the determination in their movements, the refusal to quit. Vance led her to a smaller training area where 3 women were practicing close-quarters combat. Their instructor was a grizzled Marine, and he wasn't going easy on them. One woman took a hard fall, rolled, came up ready. Blood trickled from her split lip, but she was smiling. "That's Lieutenant Sarah Kim," Vance said. "Marine Corps, 2 deployments to Afghanistan. Applied to Nexus the day applications opened." "She's good," Maya observed. "She's one of our best, but she's also carrying the weight of everyone who doubts her. Her own command questioned whether she should be here, said she was taking a spot that could go to a man who'd actually used the training." Maya felt anger flare. She knew that burden, the constant need to prove yourself, to be better than good enough because anything less would be used as evidence that women didn't belong. Another woman caught her attention, taller, rangy, with a runner's build. She was working the heavy bag with combinations that spoke of serious training. "Staff Sergeant Maya Rodriguez," Vance said. "Army, Explosives Ordnance Disposal, 3 combat deployments. Lost half her team to an IED in Syria and came back to deploy 2 more times." "She's got the look," Maya said quietly, "the 1,000-yard stare, the weight of survivor's guilt, PTSD. Managed, she's in therapy on no medications, cleared for duty, but yes, she's carrying her ghosts." Vance looked at Maya, "like someone else I know." The third woman was smaller, compact, moving with a fighter's grace. She couldn't have been more than 5'4", but she attacked the obstacle course like it had personally insulted her. "That's Petty Officer 3rd Class Amanda Chen, Navy, Intelligence Specialist. And yes, before you ask, she's Sarah Chen's younger sister." Maya's head snapped around. "What?" "She applied using her married name so no one would make the connection, but she told me the truth in her interview, said she wanted to finish what her sister started." Vance's voice was gentle. "She knows you were on the operation. She asked specifically if you'd be part of the program." Maya watched Amanda Chen clear the rope climb in record time, her face set with determination that was achingly familiar. She saw Sarah in that expression, the same stubborn refusal to accept limitations, the same fire. "Does she know the details?" Maya asked. "Only what's been declassified, which is almost nothing." Vance paused. "But she knows her sister died a hero, and she knows you survived. I think she has questions only you can answer." Maya felt the weight of it settling on her shoulders. Not just teaching these women to survive, but carrying forward the legacy of those who'd come before. Including Sarah, whose little sister now stood on that training ground, trying to walk in footsteps she couldn't fully see. "This is a lot," Maya said. "It is, and I won't lie to you, it won't be easy. Some of these women will wash out. Some will get hurt. Some will face discrimination and harassment that will make you want to break things. The brass will second-guess every decision. The media will scrutinize everything. And if anything goes wrong, there will be people who say we should never have tried. So why do it?" Vance smiled. "Because Sarah and Jennifer proved it could be done. Because these women deserve the same opportunities as their male counterparts. Because every time someone says women can't, someone needs to say, 'Watch me.'" She turned to face Maya directly. "And because I think you need this as much as they need you. You've been in exile long enough, Captain. It's time to come back to the fight." Maya watched the women training. She thought about Sarah's last words, "Stay alive." She'd stayed alive, but she hadn't been living. She'd been existing, punishing herself, treating every day as penance for surviving. Maybe Vance was right. Maybe this was the way forward. Not forgetting Sarah and Jennifer, but honoring them by ensuring their sacrifice paved the way for others. "I need to do something first," Maya said, "before I give you my final answer." "What's that?" "I need to talk to Amanda Chen." Vance nodded. "I'll arrange it." That evening, Maya sat in a small office as Amanda Chen walked in. Up close, the resemblance to Sarah was striking. Same cheekbones, same intense dark eyes. But Amanda was younger, maybe 24, and she carried herself with barely contained energy. "Captain Cortez," Amanda said, standing at attention. "At ease, and it's just Maya." She gestured to a chair. "Sit, please." Amanda sat, her eyes fixed on Maya with an intensity that was uncomfortable. "Captain Vance said you wanted to talk." "Your sister," Maya began, then stopped. How do you summarize someone's life, someone's sacrifice, in words that could possibly be adequate? "I know you were there when she died," Amanda said quietly. "I know it's classified and you probably can't tell me anything, but I need to know she didn't die for nothing." Maya looked at this young woman, Sarah's sister, and saw the same question she'd been asking herself for years. She made a decision. "What I'm about to tell you stays between us. It's classified and I could lose my clearance for sharing it, but you deserve to know." Maya pulled down her collar, showing the full tattoo. "Your sister's name is on my body because she was one of the best operators I ever worked with. She was brave, smart, funny, and tougher than most men twice her size." Amanda's eyes filled with tears. "The mission went wrong. We were ambushed. Your sister and her teammate Jennifer volunteered for a flanking maneuver that saved a dozen lives. They fought until they ran out of ammunition. They died as warriors, Amanda, heroes in every sense of the word." "Did she," Amanda's voice broke, "did she suffer?" Maya wanted to lie to spare her that pain, but Amanda deserved the truth. "She fought for over an hour after we lost contact. She never gave up, never surrendered. When we found her, her weapon was empty, but there were signs she'd fought to the very end." Maya reached across, took Amanda's hand. "She died on her feet fighting. That's all a warrior can ask for." Amanda sobbed, and Maya pulled her into a hug, this young woman who carried her sister's legacy without fully knowing its weight. They cried together, for Sarah, for Jennifer, for all the warriors who'd fallen and all the ones who'd carried on. When Amanda finally pulled back, she wiped her eyes. "I want to be like her. That's why I'm here. I want to prove that she didn't die trying to open a door that closed behind her." "Your sister proved that women belong in special operations. She proved it with her blood." Maya held Amanda's gaze. "If you're going to follow in her footsteps, you need to understand what that means. The training will break you down. The men will doubt you. The stakes will be life and death. And even if you do everything right, sometimes people still die." "I know." "Do you? Because I'm not sure I did. Not really. Not until I was standing in that compound watching my friends die." Maya leaned forward. "Sarah's last words to me were 'stay alive.' I've spent years trying to figure out what she meant. I think she meant, live for the ones who can't. Honor us by being better than we were. By learning from our mistakes. By succeeding where we failed." Amanda nodded slowly. "Will you teach me? Will you teach all of us?" Maya thought about it. About Sarah and Jennifer. About all the women who'd come before, fighting in shadows, their stories untold. About all the women who'd come after, who deserved better than to walk blindly into the same traps. "Yes," she said, "I'll teach you. But I'm going to be the hardest instructor you've ever had. I'm going to push you until you think you can't go any further, and then I'm going to push you harder. Because that's what Sarah would have done. That's what you'll need to survive." Amanda smiled through her tears. "Good, I don't want it easy. I want to be ready." "Then let's get to work." Maya walked out of that office with something she hadn't felt in years: purpose. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She wasn't just punishing herself. She was building something: a legacy, a future, a way to honor the fallen by ensuring the next generation was better prepared. She pulled out her phone and called Captain Vance. "I'm in," she said. "Let's do this." And for the first time since November 8, 2009, Maya Cortez felt like she was finally moving forward instead of just looking back. The sun hadn't risen yet when Maya stood before 27 women in the Nexus training compound. They wore standard PT gear, faces eager and nervous in the pre-dawn darkness. Maya studied each one, seeing versions of her younger self, hungry to prove themselves, unaware of the cost that might be demanded. "My name is Captain Maya Cortez," she began, her voice carrying across the silent compound. "Some of you know my background. Most of you don't. What you need to know is this: I'm here because 2 women better than me died proving that females belong in special operations. I'm here to make sure their sacrifice wasn't wasted. I'm here to prepare you for a life that will demand everything you have and then ask for more." She paced in front of them, hands behind her back. "This program is voluntary. You can leave any time, no judgment, no black mark on your record. But if you stay, you will be pushed beyond anything you've experienced. You will fail. You will bleed. You will question why you're here. And I will be the voice in your head asking if you're truly ready for this life." Lieutenant Sarah Kim raised her hand. "Permission to speak, ma'am." "Granted." "What makes this different from our standard training?" Maya smiled grimly. "Your standard training prepared you to survive. My training will prepare you to thrive in environments where being female makes you a target, where your presence is questioned, where one mistake will be used as evidence that all women don't belong. I'm not here to make you equal to male operators. I'm here to make you better." She pulled a knife from her belt, a tactical folder well worn. This was Sarah Chen's knife. She carried it on every operation. The night she died, she used it to fight when her gun ran dry. Now I carry it. When you graduate this program, one of you will carry it next. You'll earn it through blood, sweat, and proving you understand what it means to be a warrior. The weight of that statement settled over the group. This wasn't just training, it was inheritance. "First lesson," Maya continued. "In special operations, you'll work with men who don't think you belong. Some will be hostile, others will be overprotective, which is just as dangerous. Your job is to be so competent, so skilled, so reliable that their opinions become irrelevant." She pointed to the obstacle course. "That course has the same standards as Bud S. We're running it in full kit. No modifications, no allowances. You fall behind, you do it again until you don't. Let's move." The first week was brutality. Maya pushed them through physical training that left even the fittest candidates gasping. But she didn't just test their bodies, she tested their minds. Scenario-based exercises with no right answers. Ethical dilemmas where every choice had consequences. Situations designed to expose weaknesses in judgment, teamwork, and mental resilience. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez collapsed during a ruck march on day 4. She'd pushed through a stress fracture in her foot, refusing to quit. Maya called a medic, then sat beside her while she was treated. "You're done for today," Maya said. "No, ma'am, I can continue." "That wasn't a question. You're injured. Pushing through pain is admirable. Ignoring injury that could sideline you for months is stupid." Maya's voice softened. "I know what you're trying to prove, but heroism isn't destroying yourself. It's being smart enough to fight another day." Rodriguez's eyes filled with frustrated tears. "I can't afford to show weakness." "This isn't weakness, this is tactical thinking. A broken soldier is useless to their team." Maya helped her up. "You've got heart, Rodriguez, but you need to couple that with judgment. Take 3 days for your foot to heal, then come back stronger." By week 2, 7 candidates had dropped out. Not because they couldn't handle the physical demands, because they realized what they were signing up for. Maya respected that. Better to discover your limits in training than in combat. She gathered the remaining 20 candidates in a classroom. Today we talk about the psychological warfare of being first. I want each of you to share an experience where being female made your job harder. The stories came slowly at first, then flooded out. Sexual harassment from fellow soldiers, being excluded from informal training because the guys need their space, commands questioning their presence, family members saying they should focus on starting a family instead of playing soldier. Amanda Chen spoke last. My sister died in combat. When I told my family I was following her path, my father said I was dishonoring her memory by risking the same fate. He said Sarah's death should be a lesson to stay safe, not a reason to seek danger. What did you tell him? Maya asked. I said Sarah's death taught me that life is short and I should spend it doing what matters. That hiding from danger is its own kind of death. Amanda's voice was steady. He didn't understand, but I knew my sister would have. Maya felt pride surge through her. Your sister would be proud of you. What you all need to understand is that you'll face this resistance your entire careers. From family, from fellow service members, from the public. The question is, how do you respond? Petty Officer Chen raised her hand. By being undeniable, by being so good that our performance speaks louder than their prejudice. Exactly, but here's the hard truth. Sometimes even being perfect isn't enough. Sometimes people will find reasons to discredit you regardless of your performance. That's when you need your team, your sisters who understand the fight. Maya looked around the room. You're not just learning skills here. You're building a network of women who will have your back when no one else does. Week 3 introduced weapons training. Maya was ruthless. Every candidate had to qualify expert on multiple weapon systems. But more than marksmanship, she taught tactics. Shooting paper targets is easy, she said on the range. Shooting when you're exhausted, scared, and people are shooting back is different. Let's simulate that. She ran them through stress courses, physical exhaustion followed by immediate shooting drills. Smoke grenades, loud noises, instructors screaming in their faces. Lieutenant Kim's hands shook so badly she couldn't load her magazine. Breathe, Maya said calmly, stepping beside her. Your body is in fight or flight mode. That's normal, but you control your breath, you control your response. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Slow your heart rate, then load. Kim followed the instructions. Her hands steadied. She loaded, aimed, fired, perfect grouping. That's how you survive, Maya said. Not by being fearless, but by functioning despite fear. By week 4, the 20 remaining candidates had transformed. They moved with confidence, communicated efficiently, trusted each other implicitly. Maya was proud but also worried. They were good, better than she'd expected. But were they ready for the reality of combat? She designed a final field exercise for week 6, a simulated hostage rescue in an abandoned building complex. Full scenario, role players acting as enemies and hostages, live simunition rounds, 24 hours of continuous operations with minimal sleep and constant stress. This is as close to real combat as I can make it without actual bullets, Maya briefed them. You'll be tired, confused, and making decisions under pressure. Your performance here will determine who continues to advance training. Jake Reeves and a team of SEALs served as opposing force, highly trained operators who wouldn't go easy on them. As Maya watched from the operations center, she felt the old familiar tension. This was the test. This would show if they were truly ready. The candidates performed well initially, breached the compound, cleared rooms with precision. But 12 hours in, exhaustion set in. Communication broke down. Someone made a bad call and simulated casualties mounted. Maya watched Amanda Chen take charge, reorganizing her scattered team, adapting to the deteriorating situation. The girl had her sister's instincts, that rare combination of aggression and tactical awareness. Then it happened. Lieutenant Kim's team encountered a scenario that mirrored Operation Thunderclap, teammates pinned down, Enemy reinforcements arriving, impossible odds. Kim froze. Maya's hand hovered over the radio. She could call off the exercise, declare it a training pause, but in real combat there were no timeouts. Kim stood paralyzed while her teammates called for orders. The opposing force closed in. Simulated casualties increased. The scenario was falling apart. Maya made a decision. She keyed her radio. All candidates, this is Cortez. You have a leader who's frozen under pressure. What do you do? Staff Sergeant Rodriguez didn't hesitate. She took command, issued clear orders, reorganized the defense. Within minutes, the situation stabilized. The team executed a fighting withdrawal, recovered their simulated wounded, and extracted successfully. When the exercise ended, Maya gathered them in the debriefing room. Kim sat with her head in her hands, clearly devastated by her failure. "Lieutenant Kim," Maya said, "what happened?" "I froze, ma'am, no excuse." Her voice was thick with shame. "Why did you freeze?" "The scenario, it felt real. I started thinking about what could go wrong and I just locked up." Maya nodded. "That happens, even to experienced operators. The question is, what did your team do?" Rodriguez spoke up. "We adapted, ma'am. When Kim couldn't lead, I stepped up." Exactly. This is lesson number 1 about real combat. Plans fail. Leaders freeze. Equipment breaks. The team that adapts wins. Maya looked at Kim. "You failed today. Good. Better to fail here than in combat. The question is, will you learn from it?" Kim raised her head, determination replacing shame. "Yes, ma'am." "Then we'll run it again tomorrow. And the day after. And the day after that until you can execute under that level of stress without freezing. Because I promise you, combat is worse than this. And when it's real, your teammates don't get second chances." That night, Maya found Kim running laps around the compound at 2300 hours. "Can't sleep?" Maya asked. "I keep seeing my team counting on me and me failing them," Kim said, not breaking stride. Maya fell in beside her. "Want to know a secret? I freeze too sometimes. In my nightmares, I'm back in that compound in Kandahar. My friends are dying and I can't move, can't help, can't do anything but watch." Kim looked at her in surprise. "You?" "Me? PTSD doesn't care how tough you are. Trauma leaves scars." They ran in silence for a moment. The difference between operators who survive and those who don't isn't that they never feel fear. It's that they've trained their bodies to act even when their minds want to shut down. That's why we drill. That's why we repeat scenarios until they're muscle memory. So when your brain freezes, your body knows what to do. "How do you deal with the nightmares?" "Therapy, exercise, talking to people who understand." Maya slowed to a walk. "And by honoring the people I lost, by making sure their deaths taught me lessons I can pass on, like right now teaching you." Kim stopped, breathing hard. "Thank you, ma'am, for not giving up on me." "I'll never give up on someone who refuses to give up on themselves. You ran that scenario badly. Tomorrow you'll run it better. That's how growth works." Maya smiled. "Now get some sleep. We've got a long day tomorrow." The next day they ran the scenario again. Kim still struggled, but she pushed through. The day after, she was better. By the 4th run, she executed flawlessly, her team operating like a well-oiled machine. Maya watched with satisfaction. This was what she'd hoped to build, not perfect soldiers but resilient ones. Warriors who could fail, learn, and come back stronger. But she also knew the real test was still ahead. Training was controlled. Combat was chaos. And no amount of preparation could truly ready someone for the moment when lives hung in the balance and every decision carried the weight of life and death. She touched her tattoo, feeling Sarah and Jennifer's names under her fingers. "Am I doing this right?" she whispered to their memory. "Am I preparing them well enough?" The answer came not in words but in the sight of those 20 women, tired, bruised, but unbroken, supporting each other through another day of brutal training. Sarah and Jennifer would have been proud. And for Maya, That was enough. The final evaluation loomed over the Nexus program like an approaching storm. 12 weeks of brutal training had winnowed the candidates from 27 to 15. Those who remained were warriors, hard, capable, and bonded through shared suffering. Captain Vance had brought in observers from across the special operations community. Generals, admirals, senior enlisted leaders, all coming to evaluate whether the program merited continuation. The pressure was immense. One failure, one disaster, and Nexus would be shut down before it truly began. Maya stood in the operations center reviewing the final scenario. It was designed to test everything: marksmanship, tactics, decision-making under stress, medical skills, and psychological resilience. A simulated hostage rescue in a multi-building complex, opposition force provided by an entire SEAL platoon, live simunition ammunition, role players acting as terrified hostages. Jake Reeves appeared at her shoulder. "You look worried." "I am worried. This scenario is harder than most real missions. If they fail spectacularly in front of all these observers, it'll set back female integration by a decade." "Then they won't fail." His confidence was absolute. "You've prepared them for this, Maya. Trust your training." She wanted to believe him, but she kept seeing Operation Thunderclap in her mind, how quickly things could go wrong, how catastrophic the consequences could be. The candidates gathered for final briefing. Maya stood before them, 15 women who'd become more than students. They were warriors she'd helped forge. "You know the mission," she began. 12 hostages held in a compound by 20 hostile fighters. You have 4 hours to plan, then execute. The observers are here to judge whether women belong in special operations. The opposition force will not go easy on you. This is your moment to prove everything we've worked for. Amanda Chen raised her hand. "Ma'am, what happens if we fail?" Maya appreciated the directness. "If you fail tactically but learn from it, that's acceptable. If you fail because you didn't apply what I've taught you, that's on me as an instructor. If you fail because you give up, that dishonors everyone who got you here." She paused. "Don't give up." Lieutenant Kim stood. "Ma'am, I speak for all of us when I say, we won't let you down. We won't let Sarah and Jennifer down. We won't let ourselves down." The other women echoed their agreement, voices strong and certain. Maya felt emotion tighten her throat. "Then show them what you're made of." The planning phase was meticulous. Maya watched through cameras as the candidates dissected the problem. Amanda Chen emerged as the natural leader, orchestrating roles, identifying weaknesses in the compound's defenses, anticipating problems. "She's good," Jake observed. "Sarah's tactical mind with better discipline." "She's carrying her sister's legacy," Maya said quietly. "That's heavy weight." As H-hour approached, Maya felt the familiar pre-mission tension. She'd been on the other side of this feeling dozens of times, the moment before action when everything is still possible, still perfect in planning form. The assault began at 200 hours. The candidates moved in 2 elements, Amanda's team breaching the main building, Kim's team providing overwatch and cutting off reinforcement routes. Initial movement was textbook perfect. Stealth approach, coordinated timing, communication crisp and professional. Then the opposition force revealed their first surprise. The compound had an additional building that hadn't been on the intelligence brief, a deliberate addition to simulate bad intelligence. The candidates' plan immediately needed adjustment. Maya held her breath as Amanda made the call. "Alpha team, adjust left. Bravo team, hold position and provide fire support on my signal." Smart call, flexible thinking, exactly what Maya had taught. The breach went loud, flashbangs, simulated gunfire chaos. Through the camera feeds, Maya watched the candidates flow through the building like water, clearing rooms with precision that would have impressed any SEAL team. But the opposition force was composed of experienced operators who knew every trick. They'd booby-trapped doorways, positioned fighters in unexpected angles, created scenarios designed to force mistakes. In the third building, Staff Sergeant Rodriguez's team encountered hostages mixed with fighters, a nightmare scenario requiring split-second identification. Rodriguez hesitated for just a moment, and that hesitation cost her 2 simulated casualties. Maya's hands clenched. This was the pressure cooker of real combat, where one pause, one moment of doubt could be fatal. But Rodriguez didn't freeze. She adjusted, reorganized, continued the mission. 40 minutes in, the scenario took a dark turn. The compound had been rigged with a simulated IED that detonated near Kim's position. 3 candidates were designated as wounded, including Kim herself. The scenario judge handed Kim a card: sucking chest wound, shock setting in, effective combat time, 5 minutes. Maya watched Kim's face on the camera. This was the moment. Would she shut down again or push through? Kim's voice came over the radio, steady despite the simulated wound. "This is Bravo 1. I'm hit but functional. Rodriguez, take command of Bravo element. Chen, be advised we have casualties. Continuing mission." Pride surged through Maya. Kim wasn't freezing this time. She was fighting through. But the scenario wasn't done testing them. The hostages in the final building were being executed by the opposition force, one every 5 minutes according to the scenario parameters. The candidates had to choose: take time to properly clear and secure, or rush and risk casualties. Amanda Chen made the hard call. "We breach now, accept the risk. We don't let hostages die while we play it safe." It was the exact kind of decision that got people killed. It was also the right decision, the one Maya would have made. The final breach was violent and fast. The candidates took simulated casualties, 4 more wounded, 1 KIA. But they secured the hostages, neutralized the opposition force, and completed the mission. Total time, 1 hour 47 minutes. Casualties, 5 wounded, 1 KIA, all hostages rescued. The debriefing room was silent as the observers reviewed the footage. Maya stood with her candidates, all of them exhausted, some bleeding from minor training injuries, all waiting for judgment. General Marcus Thompson, Army Special Operations Command, spoke first. "That was one of the more aggressive mission executions I've seen in training. Some would say reckless." Maya's stomach sank. "I would say decisive," Thompson continued. "In combat, perfect tactics don't save lives. Aggressive action does. These candidates showed tactical flexibility, mental resilience, and most importantly, they showed they could make hard calls under pressure." He looked at Amanda. "Why did you choose to breach fast rather than methodical?" "Sir, hostages were being executed. Waiting men accepting deaths I could prevent. I judged that aggressive action, despite the risk, gave us the best chance of mission success." "And you were willing to accept casualties?" "I was willing to accept that in combat, you choose between bad options and worse options. Losing team members breaching fast was bad. Losing hostages to our hesitation was worse." Thompson nodded slowly. "In Vietnam, we had a saying, 'Hesitation kills.' You understood that instinctively. That's the mark of a combat leader." He turned to address all the candidates. "I came here skeptical. I've seen other programs try to fast-track integration, lower standards, produce operators who looked good on paper but couldn't hack it in the field. This is not that program." His voice rang with authority. "What I saw today was a group of warriors who happen to be women executing at a level that meets, and in some cases exceeds, the standard we expect from male operators. I recommend Nexus for full implementation." The other observers concurred, some with enthusiasm, some with reservation, but the consensus was clear. The program worked. After the observers left, Maya gathered her candidates. They were bruised, exhausted, and triumphant. "You did it," she said simply. "You proved what I already knew, that women belong in special operations. Not because standards were lowered, but because you met them." Petty Officer Martinez, sporting a black eye from a simulated room clearing, grinned. "We learned from the best, ma'am. You learned from women who paid in blood for the lessons I taught you. Remember that." Maya's expression grew serious. "This program will continue. Some of you will go on to serve with SEAL teams, Army Special Forces, Marine Raiders. You'll face opposition, discrimination, and doubt. How you handle that will determine whether the door stays open for the women who come after you." Amanda stepped forward. "Permission to speak, ma'am." "Granted. My sister and her teammates died proving this could work. We just proved they were right. From this moment on, anyone who says women don't belong in special operations is arguing against demonstrated fact, not opinion. We're not asking permission anymore. We've earned our place." The candidates erupted in affirmation. Maya felt tears prick her eyes but didn't wipe them away. This moment, this triumph, it wasn't hers. It belonged to Sarah and Jennifer, to all the women who'd fought in shadows, whose sacrifices had paved this road. That evening, Maya walked alone to the memorial wall that had been constructed during the training cycle. Black granite, names engraved in silver. Sarah Chen and Jennifer Martinez were there, their service dates, their sacrifice acknowledged. Jake found her there. "You did good today. They exceeded every expectation." "They honored the ones who came before," Maya said, touching Sarah's name. "That's all that matters. There's talk of making you the permanent director of Nexus. Vance wants you to build this into a full pipeline for female operators." Maya was quiet for a moment. "A year ago, I was hiding in a gym, running from my past. Now I'm being asked to lead the future." "Sarah told you to stay alive." Maybe she meant this, staying alive long enough to finish what she started. Maya thought about that. About the 15 women who'd just proven themselves. About the hundreds or thousands who might come after, who'd never have to wonder if they belonged. "I'll do it," she decided, "on one condition." "What's that?" "Every class that comes through learns their history. They learn about Sarah and Jennifer and all the women who came before. They understand the cost, the sacrifice, the legacy they're inheriting." She turned to face him. "We don't erase the past, we build on it." "Deal." As they walked back toward the compound, Maya felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Peace. Not the peace of forgetting, but the peace of purpose fulfilled. Sarah and Jennifer's deaths hadn't been meaningless. They'd opened a door. Maya had walked through it, and now she was holding it open for others. The fight wasn't over. It would never be over. But for the first time since Operation Thunderclap, Maya felt like she was fighting for something instead of against something. And that made all the difference. 6 months after the final evaluation, Maya stood in the same gym where her journey had begun. But everything was different now. She wore her uniform with pride, her tattoo visible, no longer hidden in shame. The Naval Special Warfare Center had officially designated this facility as the Nexus Training Center, and Maya was its director. The first generation of candidates had graduated. Amanda Chen was now serving with a SEAL team in the Pacific, the first woman to complete the full integration pipeline. Lieutenant Kim had been selected for Army Delta Force screening. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez was training Marine Raiders. They were scattered across the special operations community, proving themselves daily. Today, a new class arrived. 32 women, their faces showing the same mixture of determination and nervousness Maya remembered from her own early days in the CIA. She stood before them, Sarah Chen's knife clipped to her belt, a promise kept to herself and to the memory of those who came before. "My name is Director Maya Cortez," she began. "Welcome to Nexus. You're here because someone before you proved it could be done. Women named Sarah Chen, Jennifer Martinez, Amanda Oakes, Rachel Kim, Maria Rodriguez. Some of their names you know. Some remain classified, all of them warriors, all of them pioneers." She walked along the line, studying each face. "This program exists because they bled for it, because they prove that gender doesn't determine capability, character does, training does, heart does, will does. She stopped, her voice carrying the weight of experience. But make no mistake, you're not here because anyone lowered the bar. You're here because we're holding you to the same standard as male operators and demanding you exceed it. A hand raised. Maya nodded permission. Ma'am, why do we have to exceed the standard? Why not just meet it? Maya smiled grimly. Because that's reality. Fair or not, every one of you will be judged more harshly than your male counterparts. One woman fails and it's see, women can't do this. One man fails and he's just that individual who couldn't hack it. You're carrying the weight of everyone who will come after you. That's not fair, but it's real. She resumed packing. I won't lie to you about what this life costs. I've lost friends in combat. I've been wounded physically and psychologically. I've questioned whether any of it mattered. Some of you will wash out of this program. Some of you will serve honorably but never see combat. And some of you will face the darkness of war and have to live with what you see, what you do, what you lose. The candidate's expressions grew serious, the romanticized vision of special operations giving way to reality. But here's what I can promise you. If you make it through Nexus, you'll join a sisterhood of warriors that spans the globe. Women who understand the weight you carry, who have faced the same battles, physical and political. You'll honor those who came before by being excellent, and you'll pay it forward by mentoring those who come after. Maya pulled Sarah's knife from her belt, held it up. This knife belonged to one of the best operators I ever knew. She carried it in combat. She died with it in her hand, fighting to the last breath. Every graduating class from Nexus, one operator will carry this knife forward. You'll earn it through excellence, through embodying the warrior spirit, through proving you understand what this legacy means. She returned the knife to her belt. That could be you. But first, you have to survive training. First, you have to prove you're worthy of walking the path these women blazed. Training began the next day. Maya pushed them hard but not cruelly. She remembered what it felt like to be tested beyond breaking, to question your worth, to wonder if you belonged. She gave them the same thing her instructors had given her: honesty, high standards, and the knowledge that failure was acceptable, giving up was not. Jake Reeves remained a constant presence, helping design scenarios, providing the male operator perspective, ensuring the training translated to real-world integration. His respect for the program had grown from skepticism to advocacy. You've built something special here, he told Maya one evening as they watched the candidates run night navigation exercises. We've built it, she corrected. This isn't my program, it's ours. Yours, mine, Vance's, every instructor who believed in these women. She paused. And Sarah's and Jennifer's. They paid the down payment in blood. We're just trying to make good on their investment. The candidates proved themselves repeatedly. They absorbed lessons, adapted to challenges, supported each other through the grinding difficulty of special operations training. Maya watched them transform from individuals into a team, from students into warriors. But the real test came 3 months in. One candidate, Private First Class Jackson, suffered a severe training injury. Shattered femur during a parachute landing. Surgery, months of rehab, medical discharge from the program. It was the kind of injury that could happen to anyone, but Maya knew how it would be perceived. The media coverage was predictable. Woman injured in special operations training dominated headlines. Critics used it as evidence that women's bodies couldn't handle the stress. Advocates defended the program but carefully, nervously, aware that momentum could shift. Maya addressed it head-on in the next class briefing. Private Jackson was injured during a training evolution that thousands of male service members have completed safely. She was also injured in the same evolution where Private First Class Martinez, male, by the way, broke his ankle last month. But Jackson's injury makes headlines because she's female. She let that sink in. This is what you'll face your entire careers: double standards, increased scrutiny, the knowledge that your failures will be magnified while your successes are minimized. How do you deal with it? One of the newer candidates spoke up. By being so good they can't ignore us, ma'am. Partially, but also by supporting each other, by building a network so strong that when one of us falls, others step up, by refusing to internalize the narrative that we don't belong. Maya's voice grew fierce. Private Jackson is a warrior who was injured in training. Period. The fact that she's female is irrelevant to the injury, but it's all the media sees. Don't let their myopia become your reality. The candidates absorbed the lesson, understanding that their fight wasn't just physical, it was cultural, political, psychological. As graduation approached for the first Nexus class under Maya's full directorship, she felt the weight of what they'd accomplished. 15 women would graduate. All had proven themselves capable of operating at the highest levels. All would go on to serve with various special operations units. The night before graduation, Maya found Amanda Chen standing by the memorial wall. Amanda had returned to serve as an instructor, following in Maya's footsteps. "Couldn't sleep?" Maya asked. "Thinking about my sister, wondering what she'd think of all this." Amanda traced Sarah's name on the wall. "Do you think she'd be proud?" "I think she'd be amazed," Maya said honestly. "When Sarah and I served together, this was still a fantasy. The idea that women could openly serve in special operations, that there'd be a program dedicated to training them, she'd have thought we were dreaming. But she died trying to make that dream real." "She did, and every woman who graduates from this program is proof that her death mattered, that she didn't die for nothing." Maya put a hand on Amanda's shoulder. "Your sister lives on in every candidate who learns from her sacrifice, in every mission these women complete, in every barrier they break." Amanda wiped her eyes. "I'm giving the graduation speech tomorrow. I want to mention her by name, even though the operation is still classified." "Then do it. Sarah deserves to be remembered." The graduation ceremony was held outdoors, the Pacific Ocean providing a backdrop. Dignitaries attended, generals, admirals, politicians who'd initially opposed the program but now claimed credit for its success. Maya didn't care about the politics. She cared about the 15 women standing at attention, ready to receive their diplomas. Captain Vance presided over the ceremony, but Maya was given the honor of presenting each graduate with their certificate and the Nexus insignia, a trident intertwined with a star, honoring both Navy SEALs and CIA operators. When Amanda Chen gave her speech, she spoke clearly and powerfully. "We stand here today because women before us refused to accept limitations. My sister, Sarah Chen, died in combat proving that women could operate at the highest level. Her teammate, Jennifer Martinez, died beside her. They were heroes in every sense, warriors who gave their last full measure of devotion to this country, and to the ideal that capability, not gender, should determine who serves." The audience was silent, moved by the raw emotion in Amanda's voice. "This program exists because of them, because Director Cortez carried their legacy forward instead of letting it die in classified files, because Captain Vance fought political battles to make this a reality, because every instructor here believed in us when the world questioned our right to even try." She looked at her fellow graduates. "We are the next chapter in a story that's still being written. Every mission we complete, every barrier we break, every life we save, it honors those who came before. We stand on the shoulders of giants. Let's make sure we're worthy of that honor." The applause was thunderous. Maya felt tears stream down her face, unashamed. This moment, this was what Sarah and Jennifer had died for. Not just the program, but the principle. That women could be warriors, could serve their country at the highest levels, could be recognized for their capabilities rather than limited by their gender. After the ceremony, Maya stood in the gym where her journey had begun, where Jake had first noticed her tattoo, where everything had changed. The space was empty now, equipment silent. Jake found her there, thinking about the road that led here, thinking about how far we've come and how far we still have to go. She looked at him. The fight doesn't end with graduation. These women will face resistance, discrimination, doubt. We need to be there to support them. We will be. Nexus isn't just a training program anymore, it's a community, a sisterhood. He smiled. And those of us who have been part of it from the beginning were invested in seeing them succeed. Maya pulled out Sarah's knife, looked at the worn handle, the blade that had seen combat. Tomorrow, she'd present it to the graduate who'd shown the most promise, carrying forward the tradition. I used to think I was keeping this knife as penance, a reminder of what I'd lost. She turned it in her hands. Now I realize it's a reminder of what we're building. Every time I pass it to a new operator, Sarah and Jennifer's legacy grows stronger. They'd be proud of you, Maya, of what you've built. They'd be proud of all of us, the candidates who pushed through, the instructors who believed, the leaders who supported us even when it was politically risky. She returned the knife to her belt. This is bigger than any one person. It's a movement. As the sun set over the Pacific, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and reds, Maya made a decision. She pulled out her phone and composed a message to the Secretary of Defense, copying the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Nexus has proven its viability. Request authorization to expand program to full-scale integration pipeline for all special operations branches. We have the curriculum, the instructors, and the candidates. It's time to make this permanent. She hit send, knowing the fight was far from over. There would be resistance, bureaucracy, setbacks, but the program had proven itself. The women had proven themselves, and Maya had found her purpose, not in punishing herself for surviving, but in ensuring those who came after were better prepared, better supported, better positioned to succeed. Her phone buzzed. A message from Amanda. Thank you for believing in us, for giving us the chance to honor those who came before, for showing us what's possible. Maya smiled, typing her response. You honored them by being excellent, by refusing to quit, by proving the doubters wrong. The future belongs to warriors like you. She put her phone away and walked out of the gym, leaving behind the woman who'd arrived a year ago, broken, haunted, hiding. That woman had been transformed, not by forgetting her pain but by channeling it into purpose. Sarah and Jennifer's names were on her neck. Their legacy was in her heart, and their dream that women could serve as warriors, recognized and respected, was becoming reality. The fight would continue. New challenges would arise, but Maya knew that every woman who graduated from Nexus, every mission they completed, every barrier they broke, honored those who'd come before. She touched her tattoo one last time, feeling the names beneath her fingers. We did it, she whispered to their memory. We opened the door, and we're going to keep it open for everyone who comes after. The sun dipped below the horizon and Maya walked toward the future, not as a woman haunted by her past, but as a warrior carrying forward a legacy written in sacrifice, proven in blood, and realized through courage. She was Captain Maya Cortez, survivor, mentor, director of Nexus, guardian of a dream that refused to die. And her mission, ensuring that no woman would ever have to hide her capabilities, that no warrior would be judged by gender rather than skill, that every Sarah and Jennifer who came after would have the support, training, and recognition they deserved, was just beginning. In the gym behind her, new candidates would arrive tomorrow. The cycle would continue. The legacy would grow. And somewhere, Maya believed, Sarah and Jennifer were smiling. Their sacrifice had not been in vain. The door was open, and it would never close again. The end.